Good evening. You're watching the news at 6 with me, Shan Rasmu. The news at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling you in on them over the next half hour. Our focus will be on the big announcement by the government today. The Smart Cities project has been kicked off. What can we expect? So we'll be discussing that with a special guest as well. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches 3 mega urban schemes. Government to aim at providing 2 crore houses by 2022. Narendra Modi calls emergency one of the darkest periods in Indian history, triggers war of words with the Congress. Monsoon rains create havoc across the country. Flood alerts issued in many states. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj announces $1 billion assistance to Nepal for reconstruction. And time running out for Greece, Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras resumes talks with international creditors to find a solution to the debt crisis. Well, our top story this evening, the NDA government today launched 3 mega urban schemes. The Smart Cities Mission, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, and Housing for All schemes were launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said that these schemes are aimed at urban transformation and stressed on the need for people-centric urban planning.
Unveiling 3 mega flagship urban schemes of his government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said urbanization should be viewed as an opportunity and urban centres should be viewed as growth engines. He also stressed on the need for providing houses for urban poor.
हमारी कोशिश ये है सिर्फ मकान देना यानी एक परिवार को जो कि बेघर है वो घर वाला बने इतना नहीं, उसको जीवन जीने की हैसियत देना, उसके मन में जीवन जीने का उमंग भरना, उसके जीवन में जीवन को साकार होने का आनंद देखने को मिले और आने वाली पीढ़ियों को देने का उसका सपना पूरा हो, ऐसा एक माहौल बनाने का इरादा है.
Pointing to a transparent system, the Prime Minister said smart cities will be selected through a competition among cities.
पहली बार हिंदुस्तान में चैलेंज रूट के आधार पर स्मार्ट सिटी बनाने का निर्णय किया है. दुनिया के कई देशों ने ये प्रयोग किया है, कुछ पैरामीटर तय किए और जो शहर इस पैरामीटर को पूर्ति करेगा वो एंट्री पाएगा स्पर्धा में, फिर उसकी दूसरी एग्जाम देनी पड़ेगी, उसको पार करेगा तो सिलेक्ट होगा. जब सिलेक्ट होगा तो फिर भारत सरकार, राज्य सरकार मिल करके उस शहर की ताकत में साथ जोड़ करके उसको स्मार्ट सिटी बनाने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ेंगे.
Urban Development Minister Venkaiah Naidu, who was also present on the occasion, said states will have full liberty and flexibility in designing and implementation of these schemes.
The need of the hour is states, union territories and local bodies, central government, we must all come together. Then only these missions will be successful. The countdown begins today. The next 5 to 6 years will be very crucial for deciding the future of urban India.
While 500 cities will be developed under Amrut scheme, there would be 100 smart cities over 5 years, and Housing for All aims construction of 2 crore houses in urban areas in the next 7 years. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
And we're now joined by Mr. Sudhir Krishna. He is the former secretary at the Urban Development Ministry to help us understand the challenges as far as these mega schemes are concerned. Sir, as far as Prime Minister Modi is saying, this is for a transformation. This is for transforming how urban India looks like. So how difficult is it to implement? Because these would be pretty stiff targets, 2 crore houses by 2022. Can you hear me, sir? Sudhir, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, I was asking, I mean, these are pretty ambitious targets that have been set across by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying that 2 crore houses by the year 2022. So how difficult is it to accomplish this task? What will be the big challenges?
The 3 schemes have been notified today for launch by the Honorable Prime Minister. 2 relates to urban infrastructure, that is the 100 smart cities, and the Amrut for the 500 lakh plus population cities, and the other is the housing for all. Absolutely on the dot the programs are. I would say that this is the need of the hour to improve our cities in city infrastructure, but the challenges are also there. The foremost challenge is capacity of the cities to handle the whole show. So far, first of all, until 10 years before, the cities were out of picture. There was nothing for the cities. No urban development program worth the name. Now, JNNURM came and brought a lot of hope and good news for the cities. But in JNNURM, the weak point was that the cities were not thoroughly involved. There was no good city plan. The cities did not have authority to take decision about what to plan and then how to execute. Everything was done largely by the state agencies. Now this program has the Amrut and 100 smart cities are putting a lot of onus on the cities. The municipal corporations and the city governments, they will have to envision, they will have to plan, they will have to take decision about what to do and how to do, and they have to maintain also. The capacity is an issue which has a challenge-wise. But opportunity, as I said before, it's a wonderful thing and it comes. On the housing side, the opportunity, once again, the need is there. There is an acute shortage of good housing for people who deserve better housing. But the challenges are that the lands are not available in cities. So the houses will have to be per force, probably in most cases, built on the outskirts where poor people will find it difficult to commute and therefore the houses may not be probably occupied. And so the connectivity will have to be linked. The city's overall development plan and the city's mobility plan will have to be factored in while deciding on the housing projects. Otherwise, I mean, we have seen that census of 2011 has shown that 11 million housing units are vacant.
Right.
Largely because of lack of connectivity. Of course, there are issues of safety and structural safety of the house and living condition safety, etc. So I would say that there are wonderful opportunities, but challenges also, yes.
All right, it's an interesting point you make over there, that over 11 million houses, if they're already there and nobody's taking them, then is there a need for this, and should the focus be on then better connectivity and infrastructure?
Absolutely. I mean, the shortage is supposed to be about 19 to 20 million. 2 crore is the shortage of urban housing, and availability, as I said, is about 1 crore of that. So half of that is available, but some of them are dilapidated. But connectivity is an issue. And therefore, I would say that the city governments must be associated with the housing for all projects. And city government should be mandated and guided to prepare for a city plan, not merely a housing project plan. It should be a city plan which should include, for example, if you develop a weaker section housing, because most of the houses are under this are supposed to be for weaker section, and that should be also like that. But the weaker section people, for them to spend 2 hours morning and 2 hours in the evening to reach the workplace, and the family members, the school going children, they have to go far away, some other direction, and somebody else has to go for hospital activity requirements, going in third direction. They will not be able to manage. And as history shows that such poor people prefer to stay in jhuggies and slums in the heart of the city than living in a better apartment on the periphery of the city. That is the history of weaker section housing program in the country, cutting across the states. So it is highly desirable that the connectivity issues are resolved along with the housing plan. In fact, it will be a good idea to redevelop the slums in situ, but that also has a lot of challenges. But that is a better idea than developing new houses for the poor people far away from the center of the city.
All right, critical points you mentioned over there. Quickly switching back to the idea of smart cities and what the Prime Minister said about the fact that there will be competitions between cities to decide who gets the smart city status. So in that sense, a lot of onus on, as you said, the civic authorities of particular cities. Are they up to the challenge? Because other than a few civic bodies, not many have really been able to do much about their cities. And that kind of a transformation at that level, is that really possible in the time frame set out?
There is a danger. The danger is that there are relatively smarter cities already, and they will be cornering the first round of success. I mean, they will have a better potential. I mean, if I can make an assessment that cities in the southern India, that is, which are already highly urbanized, like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and coming up to western India also, like Maharashtra, Gujarat. I mean, they will be, as the parameters I see, these are relatively lower hanging fruits for them. And cities in the other states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and such states, they have got large population, urban as well as overall population, that needs to get better facilities and better living conditions in the cities. But as things are, they are all the parameters which are notified for the competition in the Smart City Funds access or Amrut Funds access. These states and their municipalities will find it harder. So there is a danger that unless these states gear themselves up and their municipalities, unless they equip their municipalities, the hiatus between the already relatively more developed states and cities
Right.
and the relatively less developed, that may widen also. That is a big danger. Unless the states concerned realize this danger and gear up to meet the challenge.
All right, so indeed challenges galore as far as these three big schemes are concerned, but the intent of the government is there to provide housing for all. Let's see how that can be implemented. Though, Sudhir Krishna, thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand this a little better.
Thank you.
Staying with what the Prime Minister said, he attacked the Congress today on the 40th anniversary of the imposition of the emergency in the country. Describing the emergency as one of the darkest periods in the history of the nation, he said the lust for power led to trampling over democracy.
On the 40th anniversary of the emergency, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a veiled attack on the Congress. Calling it one of India's darkest periods, Modi said in a tweet, "Nobody can forget June 25th and 26th in the history of India. 40 years back, the country was bound with the chains of emergency and turned into a jail for the lust of power."
हिंदुस्तान के इतिहास में 25-26 जून कोई भूल नहीं सकता है। 40 साल पहले सत्ता सुख के खातिर देश को आपातकाल के बंधनों में बांध करके जेल खाना बना दिया गया था।
The Prime Minister reminded that a vibrant liberal democracy is the key to progress. He reiterated that everything should be done to strengthen democratic ideals and ethos. The Congress, however, questioned the timing and tenor of the remarks, stating they were an attempt to divert attention from other issues.
आज तो अनडिक्लेयर्ड इमरजेंसी है भारत के अंदर, सत्ता का केंद्रीयकरण है, ये ध्यान हटाने के लिए आज ये चर्चा मिला है। अगर वो एक काला अध्याय था, अगर प्रधानमंत्री ने ये शब्द इस्तेमाल किए हैं, मैं उसको दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण कहूंगा। पर उसके बाद कई काले दिन भारत ने देखे हैं। हमने गुजरात के दंगों के काले दिन भी देखे हैं।
Emergency was declared on 25th June 1975 and ended on March 21st, 1977. The period was characterized by suppression of civil liberties and arrest of key political leaders who opposed then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's action.
There was ban on newspapers. There was ban on political activities. There was surveillance. People's freedom and democratic right was severely carved. Most of the people were very unhappy, very unhappy.
पहले पार्लियामेंट फैसला करती थी, अब वो खुद करती थी। जहाँ पे और इंस्टीट्यूशंस थी वो भी ख़त्म हो गई। तो उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि इमरजेंसी का मतलब 1% रूल हो गया, वो मिसेस गांधी और फिर जो एक उनका लड़का संजय गांधी उसके साथ।
On Wednesday, a cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister decided to set up a national memorial for Jai Prakash Narayan, who led the protest against emergency. The Prime Minister said the memorial will be an inspiration to democracy-loving citizens of the country. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
And let's go across to our correspondent Vishal there, who got us that report and has been tracking the story. Vishal, coming to you, as far as the government's, or rather the Prime Minister's comments come, I mean, the stage was set given the fact that the vitriolic nature of the government and the opposition right now. It certainly seems that before the monsoon session, the Prime Minister also drawing first blood.
Well, yes, you're right, and as the Congress is calling it as a diversionary tactics, because if you look at the last few days, in fact, 2 weeks or so, the government has been under constant fire from the opposition on one issue or the other. And, obviously, with just 2 weeks to go for the monsoon session, there seems to be no signs of the government giving in to the demands of the opposition on those issues, such as the controversy surrounding the Lalit Modi issue, which is which has two prominent leaders of the party. One is Rajasthan Chief Minister, and another is the External Affairs Minister. Their name being involved in the controversy. Another is about the controversy surrounding the HRD minister's degree. So obviously, all these attacks which have been mounted on the government by the Congress party, maybe this was the opportune time for the government, and specifically for the Prime Minister, to repay in kind to the main opposition party, because they've been the Congress has been identified with that particular event in the history. At that point in time, it was Indira Gandhi who was the Prime Minister. So obviously, such an opportunity cannot go, unheeded of by the government, and specifically by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that's what we exactly witnessed today. There were at least 2 to 3 tweets in the morning from the Prime Minister, since today is the 40th anniversary of the imposition of emergency that happened in 1975, and then later on in an event which, though was completely unrelated. The event was all about the urban schemes, the 3 flagship schemes which were launched by the government and the Prime Minister. But then that was the stage which was used by the Prime Minister to go ahead and express his views about the events of that time, and also spoke about the cabinet decision which was taken yesterday for erecting a national memorial in the memory of Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan, who was considered, or rather is also considered, an hero of the entire emergency era at that point in time. So obviously, lots of things are merging out here, but one thing which clearly stands out is that this tug of war between the government and the opposition, which is now transformed into a war of words just before the monsoon session, can be taken as an indication of how things might go when the monsoon session begins on 18th of July.
Right, the monsoon session of Parliament beginning on the 21st of July. Thanks very much, Vishal, for coming in with that update. Well, moving on now, Delhi witnessed a rain-soaked day today. Temperatures dropped several notches below the season's average. But unlike Delhi, monsoon rains led to a flood-like situation in several states like Jammu and Kashmir and Gujarat. Assam is already reeling under massive floods, with several thousand people being displaced.
Heavy rain since Wednesday triggered a flood-like situation in the Kashmir Valley. The Jhelum flowed above the danger mark, prompting authorities to issue a flood alert.
जो हमारा संगम है वो उसका गेज है 27 और श्रीनगर में है 20 फुट, तो हमने कल फ्लड अलर्ट किया था, मगर चूंकि इस वक्त जो सुबह से बारिश बंद हो गई है हमारी ट्रिब्यूटरीज में भी और बाकी जगह पे भी, तो अभी जो संगम है वो अब हम स्टेबल हो गया है। तो श्रीनगर में अभी थोड़ी 2-3 घंटे थोड़ा ये बढ़ ही जाएगा, मगर अल्टीमेटली अंडर कंट्रोल है सारा।
Hundreds of people in low-lying areas were shifted to safer places, reviving memories of last year's devastating floods that drowned almost half the valley.
ये घबराहट तो है ही है, ये तो कहीं नहीं जाएगी, क्योंकि मतलब घबराहट जिस कदर जो पीछे हुआ है वो डर जो है वो बैठा हुआ है। अभी उस डर के लिए तो मतलब डर तो सामने है।
2 दिन से लगातार बारिश हो रही है, आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ मकानों की हालत बहुत खस्ता हो गई है, क्योंकि 2 दिन से लगातार बारिश हो गई है और रेड अलर्ट की भी ऐलान हो चुका है।
Heavy rains triggered landslides at several places, blocking roads and highways. Some passengers had a narrow escape when a few vehicles got trapped under a landslide on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway, resulting in its blockade. Torrential rains also wreaked havoc in Gujarat, where at least 34 people lost their lives. More than a dozen villages are reported to have been submerged. The National Disaster Response Force and the Indian Air Force have been deployed to rescue people trapped in the marooned areas. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a very quick break, but coming up on the other side, after the Prime Minister, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj takes up the issue of Lakhvi's release with China. And former Pakistan captain Zaheer Abbas will be the new president of cricket's governing body, ICC.
दिल्ली सरकार के बजट पर निगाहें। आम आदमी पार्टी सरकार का पहला पूर्ण बजट। जनता की उम्मीदें और सरकार की चुनौतियां। देखिए पहली खबर, दिल्ली का बजट, आज शाम 7 बजे।
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. And now India has offered $1 billion help to Nepal for reconstruction after the series of massive quakes that devastated the country in April. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj announced the package, saying that India's total assistance to Nepal over the next 5 years now stands at $2 billion. She assured Nepal of all cooperation to help in the rebuilding process.
We need to recover and rebuild better and stronger. Many people are living in temporary shelters. We want to make it easier for them to leave the disaster behind and move on.
Nepal's Prime Minister Sushil Koirala urged delegates to provide aid to help the country rebuild homes after the devastating quake on April 25 that left thousands dead. During a donor conference attended by more than 60 countries and aid agencies, India offered financial assistance to reconstruction work in Nepal. Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj announced that India will offer $1 billion and that a quarter would be in the form of grants and was over and above India's existing aid pledges to Nepal.
I am happy to announce Government of India's pledge for Nepal's post-earthquake reconstruction of Nepali rupees 10,000 crores, equivalent to $1 billion US, 1/4 of it as grant. Friends, this pledge is over and above our existing bilateral developmental assistance of another $1 billion US over the next 5 years, 40% of which would be grant.
Foreign donors and agencies announced billions of dollars in aid for Nepal, but that too fell short by half of what the nation wants. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi pledged $483 million, saying it would focus on sustainable development.
Today, we may add a 10th and the most pressing area to China-Nepal cooperation. That is to help Nepal's post-quake reconstruction at our best.
The donors' conference was attended by several countries, including China, Britain, Norway, Japan, Sri Lanka, and European Union, besides the United Nations, World Bank, and Asian Development Bank. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on the sidelines of the conference, Swaraj also met her Chinese counterpart Wang Yi and raised the important issue of China blocking India's move in the United Nations for action against Pakistan over 2611 mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi's release. She said that Lakhvi is no ordinary terrorist to be shown any leniency and that there should be no distinction between good or bad terrorists. China has assured that it opposes all forms of terror and will look into the matter. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had earlier taken up with the Chinese leadership India's concerns.
She said that China's stand on this matter is at variance with the excellent progress that has been achieved in India-China bilateral relations. The Chinese Foreign Minister agreed to look into this matter and said categorically that China opposes all forms of terrorism and that there was every reason for India and China to cooperate closely together on anti-terrorism efforts.
Some international news now. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has resumed talks with international creditors, with time running out to find a solution to Greece's debt crisis. A late-night session with the European Commission, the European Central Bank and the IMF failed to close the gaps. Eurozone finance ministers hope to endorse a deal when they meet again ahead of a summit of EU leaders.
Crisis talks between Greece and its creditors have resumed in Brussels in a desperate search for compromise. The latest round of technical talks comes ahead of an emergency meeting on Thursday of the 19 finance ministers of the Eurozone and a long-planned summit of all 28 EU leaders. The meeting late on Wednesday broke up after little more than an hour when it became clear both sides remained far apart on how to fix the Greek economy.
Eurogroup is now interrupted and is going to reconvene tomorrow at 1 p.m. and institutions are going to continue negotiations with the Greek authorities aiming to reach an agreement by tomorrow morning so that we are able to present it to the Eurogroup and Eurogroup then can conclude. So basically we are now continuing at all levels, so negotiations are going to be both at technical and at principal levels. So that's where we're heading right now.
It's important to keep the process going for political reasons and also, to be quite honest, to show the outside world that we're serious in trying to achieve a deal. It's of course going down to the wire, but I don't see it as a waste of time, because now we will have a meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock and hopefully a concrete proposal on the table by then.
Hier hinauszuzögern und ständig mit neuen Wünschen zu kommen. Also wenn es heute dieses Papier nicht akzeptierbar ist für die Finanzminister, dann werden wir über die vorbereiteten Alternativen auch nachzudenken haben.
As a result, Greek shares were down in early trading amid fears that Tsipras will not be able to seal a deal on cash for reform in the next 48 hours. Greece has to repay 1.6 billion euros to the IMF by next Tuesday or be declared in default, potentially unleashing a bank run and capital controls followed by a slide out of the single currency area. If Greece fails to come up with a credible reform plan on Thursday, the international creditors will put their own proposals to Eurozone finance ministers for approval. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time now for all the other international news and updates in Global Buzz. The death toll from the worst heat wave to hit Karachi for nearly 35 years has crossed 1,200. Experts warned of a similar heat wave in other metropolises in the coming week. Falling in the beginning of the fasting month of Ramzan, the heat wave in the city of 20 million people coincided with severe electricity cuts, leaving many without fans, water or light. Islamic State militants staged a new attack on the Kurdish town of Kobani, which had resisted a months-long siege by them. The attack involved a suicide bomber who detonated his car near the gates that separate Kobani from Turkey. 41 people were injured and were taken to the hospital across the border. Boston marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev finally apologized for the pain he caused his victims before a judge finally sentenced him to death. Tsarnaev is the first person to be ordered a death sentence in a federal terrorism case since the September 9/11 attacks. South Korea today announced one more infection and 2 deaths in the Middle East respiratory syndrome MERS, bringing the total contagion cases to 180 and the death toll to 29. 7 more patients were discharged from hospital today after fully recovering. Total number of discharged patients has increased to 74. Time now for all the sports action in Sports Beat. Former Pakistan captain Zaheer Abbas is the new ICC president. His name was cleared on day 3 of the Apex Cricket Body's annual conference week in Barbados. Assuming charge, Abbas said he feels honoured to be appointed as president of the ICC governing body. The Pakistani legend scored 34,000 plus runs in his 22-year-long career. India will take on Pakistan in the Hockey World League semi-finals Pool A match on Friday. India, which leads the Pool A table with the maximum 6 points from 2 outings, will look to continue their triumph in the third game as well. Meanwhile, Pakistan will be under immense pressure to defeat India, as it will be one of their last opportunities to grab a spot for the 2016 Rio Olympics. Top seed Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis stormed into the semi-finals of the WTA Aegon International Tennis Tournament today. The Indo-Swiss pair defeated Hao Qingchan of Chinese Taipei and her Italian partner Flavia Pennetta 4-6, 6-3, 10-6. They will now take on the French-Slovenian team of Caroline Garcia and Katrina Srebotnik Aegon Tennis Tournament in the semi-finals. Host Chile have booked a place in the semi-finals of the Copa America football tournament. In the first quarter-final at the Santiago, Chile last night, an 81st minute goal from Mauricio Isla helped the home team send defending champions Uruguay crashing out of the tournament. Chile will now face the winners of today's quarter-final between Bolivia and Peru. That's all from us. Goodbye.